There's a part of you that you've never met, but it knows you, it watches you when you lie. It smiles when you lose control. It whispers when you think you're making your own choices. Carl Jung called it the shadow, not because it's evil, but because it lives in darkness, not outside of you, but within you. And here's the truth, until you face your shadow, it runs your life. You think you're acting freely? Think again. Every time you judge someone else for being weak, loud, emotional, selfish, you're projecting, because that weakness, that rage, that chaos, it's yours. You've just buried it. You were taught what's acceptable, what gets you love, praise, approval, and the rest? You locked it in a cage. You told yourself, I'm not like that. But Jung's darkest truth is this: whatever you deny in yourself becomes your fate. Because the shadow doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It waits. It waits for cracks in your armor, stress, failure, rejection. Then it slips out, fast, vicious, and blind. You sabotage relationships. You lash out at people you love. You repeat patterns that feel like destiny, but they're not. They're just your shadow, playing director behind the scenes. You date the same toxic people. You ruin opportunities before they grow. You chase chaos and call it fate. But it's not fate. It's your unconscious. And until you bring it to light, your life will never really be yours. Because here's the most terrifying part. The more good you try to be, the darker your shadow becomes. Why? Because you're feeding it. Every time you suppress your anger, you give it strength. Every time you pretend you're not jealous, it festers. Every time you wear a mask of kindness while hiding your resentment, your shadow grows sharper, more cunning. It learns how to wear your face. That's when things get dangerous, because now your shadow can speak with your voice, make choices with your hands, smile while it destroys everything you've built. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think about that. All the pain you keep repeating, it might not be accidental. You don't need more willpower. You don't need more positive thinking. You need to look into the darkness, not to become evil, but to reclaim yourself. Because your shadow isn't just rage, envy, or fear. It's your unclaimed power. It's the part of you that says, I want more. It's the part of you that screams when you settle. It's the fire that could burn your life down or light it up. You choose, but only if you're brave enough to face it. Your shadow isn't the villain. It's the part of you that's tired of being ignored. And the more you silence it, the louder it gets. Not in words, but in actions you can't explain. Ever wonder why you explode over small things? Why you sabotage what you love? Why you're drawn to people who wound you? It's not bad luck, it's not coincidence. It's your unconscious screaming through behavior. The shadow doesn't use language. It speaks in patterns, in repetition, in obsession, and unless you learn to hear it, you'll keep mistaking destruction for destiny. Jung knew this better than anyone. He saw the shadow not just in individuals, but in whole societies. Wars, genocide, hatred, tyranny. These weren't just political failures. They were psychological collapses, nations projecting their repressed darkness outward onto the other. Because that's what happens when you ignore the shadow. You start to see it everywhere, but inside. You blame the world for what lives in you, the cruelty, the lies, the weakness. But the truth? It's not out there. It's in the mirror. And the second you accept that, everything changes. Because now you're not a victim of your impulses. You're not at war with yourself. You're in relationship with your whole self. That's the turning point. Not perfection, not purity, but integration. Shadow work isn't about being good. It's about being real, owning your capacity for rage, admitting your hunger for power, facing your envy without shame, because only then can you choose your actions consciously. Most people don't choose. They react. They live in loops, smile when they're angry, laugh when they're uncomfortable, submit when they want to scream, then wonder why life feels fake, numb, hollow. It's because they've amputated parts of themselves to be accepted, but the parts you cut off, they don't die, they wait. And when your guard slips, when you're tired, rejected, alone, they strike. The cruel word, the betrayal, the addiction you thought you kicked, the rage that comes out of nowhere. That's not weakness. That's your shadow saying, you will not ignore me forever. And it's right. You can't become whole by cutting parts out. You can only do it by going in, by sitting in the dark, by facing what you hate, not to destroy it, but to understand it. Because once you understand it, it's no longer the enemy. It's your edge. It's the raw energy behind your drive, your passion, your presence. The shadow isn't there to break you. It's there to wake you up. But only if you stop running. You think you're in control. But if you've never faced your shadow, you're not the one driving. You're the mask, the actor on stage, while the director sits in the dark, whispering your next line. The shadow doesn't care about your goals, your vision boards, your affirmations. It cares about truth. And if you've built your life on half-truths, it will find a way to burn it all down. Not out of malice, out of necessity. Because the part of you you've rejected is still you. And the more you deny it, the more violently it will demand to be seen. This is why your relationships break down in the same way. Why your success turns sour the moment you reach it. Why you keep chasing things that exhaust you. It's not the world. It's not fate. It's not them, it's you. Or more precisely, it's the part of you that you've refused to sit with. The wounded child, the jealous sibling, the raging protector. The part of you that learned early on, this isn't acceptable. This isn't lovable. Hide it. So you did. You buried it beneath politeness, competence, intelligence. You wore the right clothes, said the right words, became who you were supposed to be, and in doing so, you exiled your own soul. Jung didn't say, be good. He said, be whole. And wholeness means contradiction. It means being strong and scared, kind and fierce, loving and honest, even when honesty is uncomfortable. Because every time you betray your truth to be liked, your shadow takes the hit, and it remembers. It remembers every time you stayed silent to keep the peace, every time you smiled when you wanted to scream, every time you said yes with a no burning in your chest. All of that repressed fire doesn't disappear. It curdles. It leaks out sideways. Through sarcasm, through manipulation, through addiction, through passive aggression. You're not fooling anyone. Not your partner. Not your friends. Not your soul. They feel it. And deep down, so do you. That's why nothing feels quite real. Because you're not living as a whole person. You're performing. And performance is exhausting. You want peace? Then stop suppressing the war inside you. Go to it. Sit with the version of you you're most ashamed of. Ask what it needs. Ask what it's afraid of. Ask what it's trying to protect. Because even your most destructive patterns started as protection. Your shadow isn't a monster, it's a guardian. Yes, it's wounded, yes, it's wild. But it's been carrying pain you were too young to hold. And now? Now you're strong enough. Now you can go back and bring those parts home. Not to fix them, but to reclaim them. Only then can you live fully. Not as a persona, not as a mask, but as a human being. Complete, imperfect, and finally free. Most people never face their shadow. Not because they can't, but because they won't. It's not convenient, it's not pretty. It doesn't look good on a resume or sound clever in conversation. Facing your shadow means tearing down everything false that's kept you comfortable. It means admitting, I'm not who I pretend to be. That's terrifying, because your identity is built on the image you've crafted. And Jung warned, when the mask begins to crack, people either wake up or fall apart. Look around. Most people choose to fall apart. They numb out, scroll, drink, blame, busy themselves with productivity and perfection. Because if they slow down, if they get quiet, the shadow starts to speak, and it doesn't whisper sweet things. It says you're afraid of being alone. You're still angry at your father. You're performing for love, not living in it. You don't trust anyone, not even yourself. You abandoned your dreams because failure felt safer than risk. It's brutal, but it's true, and truth. That's the key, not comfort, not peace, not happiness. Truth, because until you face the truth about who you are, not just the light but the dark, you'll never be free. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That's the heart of shadow work. You're not here to become perfect, you're here to become aware, to see every part of yourself clearly and without judgment. Because once you see it, you can choose. Until then, your patterns choose for you. You'll keep falling for the same lies. You'll keep sabotaging the good. You'll keep fearing your own power, and you'll call it fate. But fate is just a name we give the parts of ourselves we refuse to claim. The truth is, your life can change. Not by fixing your shadow, by integrating it. That means having the courage to say, "Yes, I have darkness in me. Yes, I have rage, lust, fear, envy. And I won't hide from it anymore. Because the moment you stop hiding, you stop projecting. You stop blaming others for what lives in you. You stop fighting the world and start understanding yourself. You become dangerous, not in the way of destruction, but in the way of clarity. People feel it. They can't manipulate you anymore. They can't seduce you with lies, because you've already walked through your own. You've seen your darkness and made peace with it. That's power, the kind of power no one can give you or take away. And when you have it, you don't need to control others. You don't need to prove anything, you just are, whole-rooted, unshakable. That's what lives on the other side of your shadow. Not fear, but freedom. You don't defeat the shadow, you integrate it. You don't rise above your darkness. You descend into it, consciously, bravely, and without turning your face away. That's the work. Not fixing, not healing into perfection, but returning to wholeness. Jung's greatest insight wasn't that we have a shadow. It was that the shadow holds the very thing we need most. Vitality, creativity, instinct, power, all. The life you've pushed down to be good is still alive, waiting. And when you stop judging it, when you stop pushing it away, it returns. Not as chaos, but as energy. Focused, clean, raw. That's what makes someone magnetic. Not polished perfection, but integrated reality. A person who has met their shadow radiates something different. They don't flinch when others are angry. They don't break under rejection. They don't perform to be loved. They've already sat with their worst and survived, so the world loses its grip. They don't need applause. They don't chase status. They move through life with calm fire. You can feel it. You don't know why you trust them, but you do. That's what happens when someone reclaims their shadow. They become real, not safe, not soft, but authentic, uncompromising, deeply alive. And that kind of person, they change rooms just by entering. They change lives just by being. But to become that, you have to make the journey most people avoid, into the dark, into yourself, into the thoughts you silence, the impulses you suppress, the wounds you pretend don't hurt anymore. You have to stop pretending. You have to get radically honest. Not with the world, with you. Why do you really do what you do? Who are you when no one's watching? What do you crave when your masks fall off? The answers won't flatter your ego. They might break it, but that's the point. The ego is the shell. The shadow is the seed. Break the shell, and your life begins. This is the invitation Jung leaves us with. Not to run from the shadow, not to tame it, but to walk with it, to learn from it, to become whole by becoming truthful. Because when the shadow no longer controls you from behind, you become something terrifying to systems built on fear. You become someone who can't be predicted, boxed in, or bought. You become powerful, not because you dominate, but because you no longer need to. You've made peace with the darkness, and now it serves you, not silently, but completely.